climate alarmists have been they've been around for quite a while. Back in I think it was back in the 70s, and there was climate alarmists even back then. But my parents' generation, they were their generation grew up with the climate alarmists, talking about global cooling is going to kill us all. There's going to be a new ice age, the next ice age. It's going to kill all of humanity and going to wipe out the world and all this, and all these alarmists, and we need to do something about it or the world's going to end. And then my generation came along, and all of a sudden my generation was being taught global cooling's not the issue, it's global warming now. Global warming. Now we're going to switch gears. We got a bigger problem. The oceans are going to fill up. We're going to have, lose entire cities, entire states, maybe even entire countries to global warming because the oceans, the ice caps are melting, and it was going to, fill in the oceans, and we're going to have more water, and the oceans were going to rise, and it was going to be devastating, and we're going to, lose all the people. We're going to die. All most of the population is going to die because now they decided we're not going to talk about global warming or global cooling, per se. Just one, we're going to say it's climate change. That's what it is, climate change. Instead of sticking to one or the other, we're just going to say it's climate change. The only way to fix climate change, according to these people, is sending billions of dollars, giving billions of dollars to these government organizations that can fix this. If you're not laughing right now, you should be, because anything a government touches, anything a government tries to do, always comes out to be a complete disaster every time. It is what it is. I mean, you can't deny. Like, I agree. We got to have some kind of government. That comes up with laws, comes up with stuff. But governments are the absolute worst at any kind of business or anything that way. They waste millions and millions, probably billions of dollars on bogus studies and bogus stuff that does absolutely nothing to help anybody out. And they keep trying to convince, you're able to keep trying to convince people to keep giving them money for it. It's ridiculous. I mean, you got all this, they've got these people, they've got these kids that are absolutely scared. In fact, there's actually, studies going that a lot of young people are scared to the point where they don't want to have kids because they're worried about climate change. They've gotten them that scared. The problem, and this is going to kind of get into a little bit more of it, Bill Gates is one of those people. He claims that the biggest threat, one of the biggest threats is population increasing to an unsustainable point. The population increase, that it's going to, create food shortages, all that, yada, yada, yada. Which, I mean, people would maybe think of that, but the problem is, if younger people aren't having kids, you're not going to increase the population of the world. You're not going to have that. In fact, the biggest, according to, I think Elon Musk actually, Elon Musk is a very, very smart man. He claims that the biggest threat to the world, humanity right now, in the next several years, is actually population decline. And I think he may be onto something. Because of all these alarmists talking about all these issues that really aren't issues at all. I'll kind of get into that in a little bit. But population decline may be a real threat. If younger people aren't having kids, people are going to die, and you're going to start seeing the population decrease. And in order to feed people, you got to have people. You have to have people, being born and keep, increasing the population, keep whatever, to an extent, obviously. But you have to keep people young. The younger people, they're the ones that are learning, they're the ones that are working, they're the ones that are doing all these things to keep everything afloat. And an aging population does not spell good good for any country or whatever. That's why I think, that's why a lot of people are saying that in the next 100 years, Africa, because they are such a younger population, Africa may be the booming economic center because they are younger. And a lot of these other countries, like, these superpowers, like China, for instance, with their one-child policy, they have a very large, very aging population. The U.S. is actually an aging their population is starting to age as well. So that is going to be the biggest issue, I think, for most people. It's actually going to be population decline. And I agree with Elon Musk because of that. Now, going back to the climate change and the alarmists and everything, I don't, the Earth goes through natural stages of, global warming and global cooling. It's a natural cycle. It goes through natural cycles. Humans have lived through these cycles for many years and have survived. In fact, are actually thriving. You can see, we've got, I don't even know how many people, billions of people on the planet. It is a natural cycle. Humans are very innovative, and they're very good at adapting to whatever they need to adapt to. And we can innovate. Having more people is actually, going back. I'm big in agriculture, but we are right now growing more food on less land than ever before in history. Innovation is incredible when you think about that. We're growing more food on less land. We can support a bigger population. The food is out there. Now, you can say, yeah, there's people that are starving, yada, yada, yada. But a lot of that, a lot of food goes to waste. And we can do better, there's definitely things we can do better to get the food that's going to waste actually to these people that need it. But that's a whole other issue. We have the ability to feed more people. We don't need to be worried about this climate change and all this. We need to be worried about a population collapse. And I agree with Elon Musk on that one because of that. We have ways to actually, humans are very good at innovating, very good at innovating, coming up with different technologies and different ways to do things and innovating, all that. Agriculture, farming is not an issue. We have the land, we have the ability to grow more food. We need to actually start scaling back on all this BS, which is climate change. And these alarmists are getting people scared to the point where we're actually going to create more harm for ourselves if we don't wake up and start actually fighting back on these things. So, when you actually look at the actual facts and understand that this is all a natural cycle, everything that way, start worried about the real issues, because real issues, we're getting very close to war with China. We're getting very close to possibly a war with Russia and all these. Start focusing on those issues and trying to de-escalate those situations and trying to figure out a way to stop that instead of trying to figure out how we're going to fix the climate, because honestly, giving money to the government is not going to do it. And I got one more thing, which I think is absolutely hilarious. You got these climate change protesters, blocking highways and stuff. They realize how stupid that actually is. So they're worried about emissions and everything, and that's causing climate change and all that. So we're going to go block a highway, or we're going to leave vehicles idling. So they're going to be idling longer, using more fuel, all that, which they claim is bad for the environment. Which, in a way, it probably is not very good for the environment. But let's block the highway so they have to run their engines longer and actually create more emissions, because that makes perfect sense. So go ahead, keep doing that. All these alarmists, the people that actually look into these things, they realize how idiotic your stance is, and actually kind of have to laugh at the way that is. Let's go block a highway, create more emissions because you're wanting to save the environment. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So anyway, I don't know, I just thought that was something that's kind of come up again here kind of recently, and I think it's something that's a complete farce, and it's something that I think you need to be educated on and really look into, because it's something that is important to understand all the facts and not just go by the blind media that's saying to panic, because you don't need to panic. That's not the issue that they want you to think that it actually is.